3 years ago, there was no anti-sweatshop movement in the U.S. Today, there is. Made up of labor, religious, student, and community organizations, there is a growing social movement to end sweatshop abuses and child labor. Organized through the United Students Against Sweatshops, students on over 150 college campuses across the country are playing a key role. After the violent civil war in the 1980s, which devastated El Salvador, multinational corporations moved in, setting up production in huge free trade zones where they pay no taxes. The conditions in these maquila factories are hidden from public inspection. Students from the University of Arkansas, Kentucky, Wisconsin, Yale, Middlebury, and Grinnell, along with representatives from the National Labor Committee, arrived in El Salvador in August. They loaded into a bus and began crisscrossing the country, meeting with workers, union leaders, and human rights groups, and trying to get into factories to see the conditions firsthand.
In El Salvador today, there are approximately 225 factories, 70,000, mostly young women, assembling 581 million garments a year for export to the United States. The maquila is booming. In fact, the presidents of the country said, we're going to make El Salvador one giant free trade zone. You no longer have to be inside the free trade zones to get tax-free production. You can be anywhere in the country.
The delegation met a worker named Sonia, who lives in a squatter's neighborhood on the outskirts of San Salvador. She was fired from the Dual factory, where she sewed Liz Claiborne clothing, for speaking with a commission of students from Columbia University about the factory conditions.
Mi nombre es Sonia Beatriz. Tengo 23 años.
My name is Sonia Beatriz. I am 23 years old. I have a 5-year-old daughter. I started working in the factories in 1994. When I began to work, we had to start at 10 minutes to 7, and if you arrived late, they deducted a half hour from your pay. They didn't give us breaks. We went home at 7 at night. At times, we worked until 10:30 every night. On Saturday, we worked until 7. And on Sundays, we worked until 5 in the afternoon. When we didn't work on Sundays, we worked all night Saturday. You couldn't say anything about the extra hours. You had to work. It was obligatory. And if you said you couldn't stay, they punish you or they chastise you. But we're humans. We are not machines.
What the multinationals have essentially done, they roam the world in search of the lowest wages, the least benefits. They look for places where there are no implementation of human or worker rights, no occupational health and safety, no taxes, no regulations, no red tape. They go into these countries and they set up production and they put their arms around very young women. That's who they want in the factories. So almost invariably, country after country, the workforce is 17 or 16 to 25 years of age. The women come into these factories with little formal education and they don't know their rights. They don't know the Salvadoran Labor Code. They never heard of Kathy Lee. They never heard of Wal-Mart. They've never heard of the corporations which they ultimately work for. They're pulled into the global economy really with no tools to defend themselves. And when they try to learn their rights, they're fired.
Would you like to have a union?
Sí, nos gustaría, ¿verdad?
Yes, we would like it, because a group of people speaking to the Korean managers could tell them what we think, that we would like to be treated a certain way. We would like our rights as workers. But if only one or two people go to speak to them and ask for this or that, they don't pay attention.
Then to come down here and to talk to 22 and 23-year-old maquila workers who identify with us, and we identify with them, reinforced for me that, you know, everything that we've been talking about in the past year is totally in tandem with what these workers are talking about. And it's because of these delegations, it's because of these trips that we're able to create real solidarity between workers here and students and consumers and working people in the States.
There's so many complaints that students, you know, in the 90s are so apathetic, Generation X. They don't care about anything. It's all about materialism, and it's not true. It's not true.
All of the free trade zones look like armed camps or prisons. They are surrounded by concrete walls, barbed wire, and guards with guns. Anytime someone from the outside tries to see the conditions under which the clothes are made, they are not allowed in or are promptly chased out.
Because we work for Nike and Adidas, they really want us to get everything clear through them.
Here are the internal documents for Nike. When they go offshore, they list every single operation involved in making a Nike shirt. Every step is listed. And next to every single step, there's what they call SAMs, standard allotted minutes. They break the timing down into hundredths of a second. The workers get 6.5 minutes to make the shirt. Everything, from beginning to end. 6.5 minutes at 60 cents an hour is 7 cents. In this Nike shirt, which sells for $22.99, there is 7 cents of labor.
The minimum wage in El Salvador is 60 cents an hour. Although it meets less than 1/3 of the cost of living, the factory owners are threatening to slash the pay to 36 cents an hour. The delegation met with a worker in front of her home who made shirts for Van Heusen. She spoke about the low wages she received at the factory. She asked that her face be covered for fear of losing her job.
The money you earn is so little. You spend whatever you earn. You cannot buy anything because here a pound of beans costs 5 colones and rice is 60, maybe 50 colones. The only other things you can buy are cheese, cream, things like that, because they are cheaper. Tortillas. And to leave something for the trip, it's not enough. And to leave something for the girl who takes care of the children so she can feed them during the day. The money is not enough.
I think the most important thing is to let their voices be heard. And I mean, it sounds very basic, but that's really the key. I've seen how companies react to people who question, to people who write letters, and it seems like it's not very much, but it's everything to them.